this brief video, I want to talk about our good friend Procopius. Now, Procopius, of course, was the big star of the 6th century AD. Now, his methods, he basically talks about the wars that the commanders of Emperor Justinian was the leader at the time, the infamous Justinian with his wife Theodora. And he talks about the wars his commanders fought against the Germanic tribes, the Huns, the Slavs, the Vandals, and through the Persians, and through these stories he talks about various tribes and races, and his method is quite similar to that of the father of history, which was of course Herodotus, for the 5th century BC. And in his study he talks about the Hebrews, and he also talks about the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians, of course, were a mixture of the Canaanites and the pagan Jews, mainly the tribes of Dan and Asher. Right, now, when the Hebrews had withdrawn from Egypt, had come near to the boundaries of Canaan, Moses, a wise man, who was their leader on the journey, died. And the leadership was passed on to Jesuah, the son of Nun, Jesuah ben Nun, who led this people into Canaan. And by displaying a valor in war greater than that natural to a man, gained possession of the land. And by overthrowing all the nations, he easily won the cities, and is seen to be altogether invincible. You see, Jesuah ben Nun had God by his side. Right, now at the time, the whole country along the sea from Sidon, as far as the boundaries of Egypt, was called Phoenicia. And one king in ancient times held sway over it, as is agreed by all who have written the earliest accounts of the Phoenicians. In that country there dwelt very populous tribes, Semitic tribes, the Girgashites and the Jebushites, and some other with other names, which they are called in the history of the Hebrews. And the note says Canaanites of the Old Testament. Now, when these nations saw that the invading general was an irresistible prodigy, they emigrated from the ancestral homes, and they made their way to Egypt, which adjoined their country. And finding there no place sufficient for them to dwell in, since there has been a great population in Egypt from ancient times, they proceeded to Libya. And they established numerous cities and took possession of the whole of Libya as far as the Pillars of Hercules, and there have lived even up to my time using the Phoenician tongue. They also built a fortress in Numidia, where now is a city called Tikisis. In that place are 2 columns made of white stone near by the great spring, having Phoenician letters cut in them, which say in the Phoenician tongue, "We are they who fled from before the face of Jesuah, the robber, the son of Nun, Jesuah ben Nun." Right. And of course, so this took place in the 15th century AD, somewhere around 400 BC, 1400 BC. And sometime in the 8th century AD, another group of Phoenicians left from Tyrus, and they colonized the area around Tunisia, modern-day Tunisia, and the coasts of Africa. So we have a second colonization of the Canaan tribes. We have Dido from Tyrus, mainly, and the other ports, Byblos, Jebel Byblos, Zidon, and Dios. So the first migration began in the 15th century, and the second one in the 8th. And by that time, they controlled, let's say, the area from modern-day Tripoli in Libya, up to the coast, after the borders, after the end of Morocco and the Mediterranean Sea. Right, and of course the Pillars of Hercules are called the Pillars of Hercules because these Canaanite, Phoenician, Dan tribes because they passed the pillars, you see. Some of them went to Spain, some of them went to Cornwall, some of them went to America, and they took with them statues of the god Melekart. So that's what they call the Pillars of the Hercules. And they went all the way to Cornwall, America, Brazil perhaps. And they colonized everything from Tripoli in Libya up to the end of Morocco, the entire coastline. And I even met a guy, I met this woman from Morocco claiming that they are Jews. And I said, how come? She couldn't even answer. Now here's the answer. The answer comes from Procopius. And then come the Ashkenaz, the Jews, who lived in Morocco in later times. Proper Zionist Ashkenaz Jews, and they were in turn expelled by the Arab fanatic Muslims in 1948. No one talks about that. When Israel liberated itself from the Arabs in 1948, the other Arab tribes, the other Arab countries retaliated by throwing out the Ashkenaz Jews from Yemen, Algeria, Morocco. And no one talks about that. What about the lives that were lost? What about the property? Who's going to compensate these people? No one. No one cares about the Ashkenaz from Morocco, Libya, Algeria, Yemen. And here we have an account by the 6th century AD historian Procopius, who talks about our good friends Moses, Moshe the wise man, and Jesuah ben Nun, his successor, the great commander. A fine piece of Punic, Phoenician and Berber structure, the mausoleum of Atepan at Duga.